Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ed Carter. Welcome to the Trader Vision 2020 workshop for Wednesday, August 29th. Thanks for showing up and spending your afternoon with me. We'll try to keep this to 45 minutes. If it goes over with questions, we can hang around for that for a while, but there is a, 5:30 or 6 other presentation in here, so I do want to make room for them. Is there anybody in here this afternoon who is not familiar with Trader Vision at all, who is not a user or not familiar? If so, let me know and I'll just give you a thumbnail sketch. Okay. Well, I'll give you a thumbnail sketch here in just a minute, Thomas. I guess Thomas or F. First of all, let's talk about the agenda. My only agenda this evening here is to actually show off the scanning widget or scanning tool. We'll find some tickers, plan some trades, and then we'll just talk Q&A. If you want to talk about development plans, we can do that as well. So that's basically it. That's the end of the slideshow. I'll put this up in case. Well, if you want to contact me, but I guess let me go back here. This is what Trader Vision's all about. It's an end-to-end support tool for traders. Ignore the development stuff here, but just focus on this image. Basically, the idea behind Trader Vision is to help a trader set their goals and break their goals down into a per trade basis. Select trades that fit their style, validate those trades against their trading rules and criteria, plan trades that will meet their goals, then manage those trades towards meeting those goals, logging all this information, and then allowing them to analyze their performance after the fact, look for problems that they have to solve, patterns that they can take advantage of, basically everything that they need to do more of what works and to stop doing what is not working. That's the whole idea behind Trader Vision, and that's always our direction, and we're along that path and working towards it. So that's the basic gist of the situation. This is what Trader Vision looks like. For any of you who are current users, you may have noticed, if not, next time you log into the application, you'll notice there's a new release up here for you to download and run the update. You'll just notice this, whatever color scheme you have set up, this ribbon at the top. I'm using a test version, so I don't need to do that. But this is the basic scanning widget. There are other widgets. I'm not going to go through the whole thing tonight. Thomas, if you want to talk to me later, I'll be happy to give you more of an introduction and overview. But for this evening, I want to focus on the scanning widget that is fairly new here within the last month. It comes with 35 built-in scans in place, bullish patterns, bullish signals, same thing on the bearish side. And then you also have the ability to write your own scans in a very simplified language and save those. That is not currently released. In fact, I've got that turned off here for tonight. So you won't see that tonight, but I've demonstrated that in the past, and I'll be happy to demonstrate it again later. Let's see if we can't run some scans. It's basically as simple as choosing a scan that you like, perhaps the trending bullish scan. Select what you want to run your scan against, what universe. I'll just stick with the US market. You choose a 50-day moving average, the minimum volume in millions that you would like to run or require that the results meet. So 0.4 means on the 50-day average basis it has to have at least 400,000 shares per day. and then choose a price if you want. So I could choose $5 and leave it blank on the top, so it'll bring everything that's $5 or more. I could put in a top figure if I only trade things that go up to $50, for example. The reason I choose 5, by the way, is because of my personal liquidity requirements are $2 million worth of stock traded a day, and 5 times 400,000 shares gives us that 2 million. It's just an average, but that gives you a ballpark estimate here. You click run the scan, and bang, it has come up with the results. In this case, it's found 67 symbols that meet this scan's criteria with this liquidity in place out of that universe. And you can sort these scans however you like by any of the columns. I'll just look at sorted by price here. I like to do it that way. And then you just flip down through them, either using your arrow keys or your mouse scroll button. And look for something that meets your particular trade criteria. We've got a nice bullish engulfing here within a nice trend at a high level. That one might be something that we might be interested in looking at. I like this one a lot, NP. I like Habits, restaurants, I guess it is. There are a few. If the 200 wasn't above, I might like that one. Looks like AMD's trying to make a comeback, not quite. I like INT. And then you would go on to another scan. For example, since Rick's in the room this evening and the rounded bottom breakout's his baby, let's run that scan, see what we find. It comes up with 45 symbols in the rounded bottom breakout. Let's just go through those. Again, let's sort this by price. Yes. Yeah, I know Rick does. Maybe has some stuff to work through. That might be worth a look. By the way, I'm not going to kid anybody. We've got integrated charting, and you know it has a lot of features to it, but I will not say that we are the strongest charting package in the world. I've got a coder working full-time on improving our charting package, and that will improve greatly and quickly, but I will shoot you straight and tell you where we're good and where we're not good. This is a place we need to still make up some ground. And for that reason, this evening I will plan out the trades where I can get a little bit larger and better picture from my other charting package. Deutsche Bank doesn't work. Not yet. I don't think so. Probably not, but I'll take a look at Quartz. Yeah, I've got GSM marked. I'm writing them down on a piece of paper here. I'm old school sometimes. Well, you know me. I still like flip phones, and I don't text, and I don't Facebook. I'm kind of an... I like my technology sometimes. I like my old school sometimes. Okay, we got a few here on the list. But you can also do things like you could run perhaps a signal. Let's say you like bullish engulfing signals, and run the scan for that. Same criteria. It comes up with 61 symbols. If you then hold down your control key and go back and run the bullish trending, it says two of them, FMI and VSTM, which I had marked down, are worth a look, or I had mentioned it before. FMI is, for a stock trade, is just too expensive for most people. Perhaps you like the bullish engulfing and that rounded bottom breakout. In this case, it says there are three symbols from those two lists that cross over. DQ, Yen, which I think is the Chinese bull. Okay, yeah. That's too choppy for me. And YRD. Yeah, I looked at YRD earlier off of this scan. That's too big of a candle for me. At least earlier in the day, that candle was like 30% from bottom to top. But it was like up 15% from yesterday's close. So I'm not going to chase something up that much, but that is a beautiful bullish engulfing here with some potential upside. I can't see chasing that breakout candle. But that's the process you would go through if you wanted to combine a signal and a pattern. Theoretically, you could combine several things, but the truth of the matter is very few charts are going to match three different scans combined together. So they kind of are by their definition, they're contrary to each other. So it's very hard to find something that's bullish, trending bullish, and also a rounded bottom breakout. Or it's hard to find something that is a bullish engulfing signal that is also a mat hold signal, or a doji continuation. Sort of by definition, they're exclusive of each other. But that's the basic operation of it. It's very straightforward. I think it's very simple. It comes with, as I said, 35 scans built in, and of course you can define your own. This will be released very soon. We're debugging it now. There's a small memory leak with that on the server side that we want to solve first. But it works very well, and I've done 15 to 20 line scans, very complex scans, and it works very quickly. So I'm very happy with the performance. Do we have any questions about the scanning widget at this point? Of course, this comes included with Trader Vision, so it's part of the package, along with the planning, goal planning, and trade planning, and logging, and so forth. Now, as Rick will tell you, we have something in the works. It's still not soon, but it's in the works to go to the next step of scanning, which is real-time scanning, looking for new day highs and things of that nature, crossovers on an intraday basis, that sort of thing. So that is coming down the pike. It's not here now, and it's, like I said, a month or so away, hopefully, but it's still out in the future. But that is coming. Okay, well, if there's no questions right now, I know Rick's been excited to see that. He pokes me in the ribs every time he sees me. So let's pull up TC2000 and look at some of these tickers there. In particular, and this is one I know that Rick had talked about today. We've talked about it in the past. It didn't close out as nice as it looked earlier, but NP is a very nice chart, very nice consolidation here after a strong run up. If we go out to a weekly chart, pull this up here, you can see that we've been in a very strong, probably since I would call it April, a very strong trend here. You can see that we've got some levels that stand out pretty well as resistance above. We've kind of got two together that which one of those is the correct one, I'm not sure, but that whole little area there is going to be resistance and or support, and right now we've just gotten above it. So if we go back to the daily, we've broken through it, and right now we're looking for some follow-through. So you can see I had a trade planned back here a ways. Let's see if we can't readjust this thing and see if it plans out as a decent trade now. I would probably put my stop in this area, and that's about right. It's even right with the V stop. Let me go back here. Try to keep these segregated, different webinars and different accounts. And if we type in NP, it says we've got 6 bullish conditions, no bearish conditions. We've got earnings out of the way, so we won't have earnings here until early November. We've got a nice pattern, we've got tons of liquidity, and let's see if we can't plan this as a single entry, 2 exit or 2 target trade. Let's call the high of the day our let's call it 1685. I don't know what that is, but it's pretty close. So let's call 1685 our entry, and our stop was down here at 1560. With a first target up here about 19.8, or let's call it 1975. And a second target, how about 2160? Trader Vision tells us we can only do 100 shares to stay below $125 of risk. That's probably not much, but let's look at 200 shares and see what that does for us. At 200 shares for this particular account that I've got set up, it would only be about 2.6% of the account, but it would be $250 of risk if we were stopped out with that stop. And again, that stop is it's an 8% stop, so that makes sense. So I'd probably back this off. Even though it's a small position size, I would want to keep that risk more manageable. I don't need to have 125, but I'd rather keep it less than 250 as well. So let's back it down to 150 shares. Now it's only going to give us a 2% position size, but it gets us down below $200 on our risk to stop. If we were to sell 75 shares at that first target, that's picking up 17%, so we're getting more than 2 to 1. If we had to sell the whole position there, we would in fact make our goal. Our goal is $350 per trade, and we'd make $435 in profit. So you've got that in the bank. In fact, you've only got to make $19.18, so someplace right around here would get us to our trade goal. But nonetheless, if we could sell half there and hold on to the half up to that 21.5 area, let's see, 75, we'd make 28% on that second piece overall, giving us a 23% trade, and we'd book almost $575 of profit. So basically we're risking $187 for the chance to make at the first target 435, and overall if you made both targets 573.75. So that seems like a very reasonable trade to me, and one that I would not be surprised to see again perhaps tomorrow. But that's a nice trade setup. Just wish I had a signal, but I like the action as it is. Let's see, what were some of the others that I liked? Let's look at VSTM and see. Whoops, sorry. Let's look at VSTM. See if that. That's not around the bottom breakout. I thought it was one of those. UCTT maybe. Okay, UCTT. It's a rounded bottom breakout up here above the 50. You can see that we've not quite established the trend yet. We've got a low and a high. We need a higher low. So this one probably is not quite ready yet. I would want to see it pull back and hold the 50 maybe, and then move on up. So give us a retest of the 50 and then come on up. So I'm going to pass on planning that one at the moment. Let's try Quartz. Was that one of the, yeah. A low and a high and a higher low, and now the higher high. We've broken out. I would probably look for an inside day on this particular chart. Something like this, maybe to retest. This is still a little bit early since today was the breakout day. But if we go out to a weekly chart, yeah, looks like we've got some well-defined areas here that I had marked out whenever I marked this out before. So it looks like a couple nice areas where you've got several touches that would make a decent target. Again, it's biotech, so it's going to be a little more volatile. You can see that we've had some big candles. But if we got an inside day for an entry, I would probably put an entry. Let's just pick a spot. Down in here with a stop probably down like right around there. Where's V-stop say? 1392. So yeah, I'm almost right on the V-stop level there. And then the first target's up here. So I don't think you're going to get 2-to-1 on this to the first target. May need to wait for a bigger pullback and get a closer buy down here on a signal. But having it planned out ahead of time will put you in a position to trade it if it happens on an intraday basis. So let's go ahead and plan it out. Four bullish, two bearish factors. The two bearish being the short-term symbol bias because of these black days here, and as well as the moving average relationship. The T-line has not broken above the 34 EMA yet. But other than that, it looks pretty good. We've got plenty of patterns, enough liquidity. We've got earnings out of the way. Let's plan this out, and then you can adjust the plan later. Let's just, for argument's sake, say it's a 1450 entry with a stop 1395. If you had a first target of 1530 and the second target up here of 1660, says we can do 227 shares. Let's let's see about that. 250 would keep us less than 3%, $137 of risk. I could live with that. And if I had to sell half at the first target, I wouldn't get that 2-to-1 that I talked about. So what would I have to do to get a 2-to-1? Let's say I was able to see a pullback, it held support, and I got a buy signal down in here, like at 14.25. Would that give me the 2-to-1? Yeah, that would get me well into the 2-to-1. So I don't even need 14.25. Let's say 14.30 or 40. Probably about 14.35 is what I would need to get in order to get my 2-to-1. So I need to see it pull back probably pretty close to that. Actually just below it. So if I could get something like a pullback tomorrow into this area and bounce, show me a signal there. I don't want to be buying a falling knife. I want to see a signal there. But if I were to get that, then you could get your 2-to-1. You would make 237 at the first target. But if you could sell half and hold the rest to that second target, now you're getting 4-to-1 overall on the trade. That's probably where the 200-day moving average is going to be when we get there. And that's going to give you $400 in profit. 11% trade. So that's something to put in your back pocket and consider if you get the right price action tomorrow. If you have any questions as we're going along, please just sing out. I'm just going through these, give you some ideas of the trades and ideas of how Trader Vision works, how easy it is to use. But if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer anything. INT was a chart I liked off of Trader Vision. Nice little J hook type breakout. It's a few more candles. That question, I'm afraid I can't answer. But I knew it would be asked when you were in the room. We've got not quite a bullish engulf of the doji, but a nice breakout candle here. Let's go out to a weekly chart. Maybe 8 days. These levels are what I drew that line off of once upon a time, and another one up here off of those levels, and the third one up there. Going back to the daily, this was drawn during the pullback, I remember. So this fib run from the last pullback down here to the previous high gives us a nice projection or fib extension. The 38.2 matches up very nicely with that next resistance level, and then the one above is not quite as nice a match, but you can see where it comes from there. Let's see if we can't plan out a trade here. What will we look for? We look for a breakout, and we want to buy it pretty close, I would think. If it's me, I'm seeing this level here as potential support, and so that's where I'm going to put my stop, someplace just below that, and I'm going to put my entry up in here. Whoops, wrong line. Put my entry up in here. So let's call it 29 bucks and 27.75. And you can play with those, move them around to your personal taste. If you think it's a few cents this way or that way, you should go with what you think is right. So let's look at that as a trade plan. INT reported here the end of July. 6 bullish, no bearish, beautiful chart, plenty of liquidity. And let's look at a few prices here. So what did I say? 29 bucks is an entry. Yeah, 29 bucks is an entry with 27.75 as a stop. It's a pretty big number. And then 31.60 and 32.85. Again, it says 100 shares. I think let's try 150, see what this would do. That's a good enough number there. 3 1/3% of the account. 187.50 in risk. Let's see what this plans out like. At the first stop, it's almost 9%. If we had to sell the entire position there, we would get 2 to 1. We would be able to make 390 bucks if we sold the entire position there. But if we can sell only half of it, we'll pick up 195 bucks in profit. And at that second target, then pick up 13.28%, which would get us up over 11% overall and 483. So that's a nice 2 to 1 trade at the first target, and over 2.5 to 1 at that second target, not far above. But we're basically risking less than 200 for a chance to make close to 500. So again, I think that's a trade. You can play with the numbers if you think they should be a little bit different, but you can see how easy it is to plan out and know exactly what your risk is, exactly what you need to see in order to make your goals and in order to achieve your trading plan. And you have this in your pocket ahead of time. You're not being jerked around by emotions. I guess we'll do one more, then I'll ask for questions, and then we'll call it a night, get out of here early, get you on your way before 5 o'clock. Did anybody have a particular ticker they would like me to plan? Is anybody still awake? Okay, I don't see anybody typing, so oops, Bob's got something. Roger likes PayPal. Yeah, oops. Okay. That's not a stock trade. I just don't see it working out real well as a stock trade. What is it you like about PayPal? Can you help me out here? It's trending. It's at all-time highs, but yeah, to me, we're a far piece from support. Even if I dropped another line in here and said this is support up in there, we're a little bit extended from that. I don't know that I would call this a breakout level, but I suppose you could. Saw a report it was going bullish. Okay. Well, did they tell you when they're going to buy and when they're going to sell? That's the problem with those reports, is you're never sure what is behind it. To me, this was the last bullish run, and we had too much of a pullback. That was almost a 90% pullback from that. If I said this was the last bullish run, then we've got a little bit more reasonable pullback, but we're also reaching, a 61% extension right now of that previous run. So I'm not expecting much more. Do I get 100%? Okay, that's fine. That's less than 3% above. So if you were going to trade this as an options trade, and you could assume that you're going to get that 3%, it might work out. But I would like to see you buy close to support as opposed to extended from what I think is proven support there. Maybe even I could say that's proven support. So I don't want to steer you wrong, but that's 3% from proven support, and I'm expecting less than, well, let's call it 3% above to the target. So buy today, sell. I'm not sure I understand, Roger. I'll wait for you to film. I'm not sure what buy today, sell question mark means. But in the meantime, I'm going to look at Med-P here. So you started a long position today. You like it because it's a wedge breakout. Okay, so this is the wedge that he's working off of there, I guess. And I'll call that a pennant, but whatever. Higher on earnings, so this must have been the earnings day. That was a heck of a day. You don't like right to left. Resistance to the left. So let's go back out. I don't see it, Bob. That's monthly. Yeah, I don't see any resistance to the left unless that for some reason I'm not getting the candles. This is as far back as the daily goes, back into 2016, and it's pretty much all-time highs, unless you mean this resistance. If that's what you're talking about, then I can understand that. But if you started a position, I'm just going to assume halfway through today's body, for argument's sake, that gave you a 5% up into this potential resistance area. Or if you prefer to argue wicks, then you've got almost 10%, 9.5% up into that resistance. So at all-time highs, I wouldn't say that's terrible resistance. If you can make your trade on 5% or at least get close to it, I think it could work. Let's plan it out kind of under that assumption. So that would be the fibs I would probably use, and that's probably the first target. Let's just assume that midday buy today, or mid-candle buy today, and I would probably put my stop someplace like this. I don't know that I would have bought a gap up, but that's okay. 56.40 is what. Okay, so V-stop says we can move it up a little higher than I had it. But let's just look. I will come back to you, by the way, on that. Roger, I guess it was. So Med-P now has 5 bullish and 1 bearish. Earnings are out of the way. Let's just plan it as 1 entry and 1 exit. Well, actually, let's do 2. I'll add another one there. So what was your actual... let's just assume that you got 58.48 because that's where I dropped my line. And if you use the stop down here of whatever I said, 56.60, 5 or something like that, 56.65. And that first target, 61.40. And then let's just add another exit and make that second exit, whatever this is, 69.15. You notice it was easy to add that extra exit. It says we can do 68 shares. Well, again, with this account, I don't know what size account you're trading, but just for argument's sake, let's do 100 shares because I like to do round lots. It's too big for this position or for this account, but let's just say that it works. With those numbers that I laid out there, and your first target being right there, you're getting only 1.6 to 1, but you would make almost 300 bucks, 292, if you sold that position there, 100 shares. If you held on to half of it all the way up into that first target at a 23% extension, then I'm sure this will make the trade for you. Yeah, that's 18% at that second target. So that would get you where you wanted to be. So it really comes down to whether or not you're going to hit that resistance there and keep going. If you can hold through any waffling there, or maybe even a little pullback there, if you can hold through that and stick it out to that first target up here to the 23.6 extension of this run, then that trade would work for you. And of course, if you're in options instead of stock, that completely changes everything. I don't know. I think they offer options, but I don't know if they have the liquidity. But of course, that leverage would change everything around. So I hope that's useful to you. But that's how I see the trade. It really depends on two things. Can you make your bones on that, on that 5% run up in here, or can you hold through whatever congestions you might have off of those, two little touches, that resistance to get up to this larger goal. Now, back to that PayPal. Roger, did you can you help me out with what you meant buy today and sell date price not given? Okay, so that was you're just talking about the recommendation, and here's what I would tell you. I don't care who they were. I don't trust them unless they promise they're going to call me before they buy and before they sell. As far as I'm concerned, they're just talking to support their own, pump and dump scheme. Now, if this is a bullish chart, great, but I think I can find better trades is what it comes down to. So I really don't want to plan this out for you, but if you love it, you can see that this is the last resistance. Everything in that is based off of fibs. That's all I've got up here at these highs. So, but I think there are better charts to trade, in my opinion. This looks extended after this run, and it's at all-time highs. I wouldn't buy it. Any other tickers? If so, we'll do one more. Other than that, we'll call it a night and be back here next week. Of course, I think this Sunday we'll not be doing it. Doing this look ahead on Sunday. Baba Shorts. Okay. So we've got a high and a low and a lower high and a lower low and a lower high, and looking for some follow through there. You had a piercing candle here on whatever that was, Tuesday, and not much follow through, but nothing terrible today. You also have, there are some traders that are going to be watching this death cross and will be trading that. So we're looking for some follow through on something like that, as let's call that the body of the H, and looking for a dreaded H to follow through. This is your first target, obviously, the breakout level. And let's go out to a weekly. Yeah, I'd probably put that right there, 166.80, as the breakout level with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touches there. And let's see if we can find something on further down here. Maybe skip out to an 8-day. I like to do that sometimes. I don't know. I guess I will use this level here, about 145. Going back to the daily then, and where's my, there it is. What happened? So on an entry, let's say below this body, below the low of today's wick, with a stop probably someplace up in there. What does V-stop say, by the way? V-stop says 171.80. So V-stop is still below it. Way below it. That's odd. V-stop is not flipped, but that's where I would put my stop, I guess. Let's go ahead and plan this out. We can plan it with 2, but don't know that we'd get there. On that far of a pullback, I better plan it back here. Okay, so we're mixed, 3 bullish, 2 bearish signals. We do have earnings out of the way, so we have almost 3 full months. And let's plan it out with 1 entry and 2 exits. Don't know that we'd get there, but let's try it. Let's say the entry is 176.33. And the stop is 183.30. With the first target down here, 166.85. And the second target, 158.10. It's going to tell us with this small account almost no shares, but let's just plan it with 100 shares for grins. Again, that's going to be too big for this account, but let's ignore that for the moment. If you could do that, you'd be risking almost 700 bucks for a chance to make 950 bucks at that first target. So again, 1.36 to 1. To me, since that breakout is your first target, to me that does not probably make a lot of sense. Even if you were to say it's not the body that's going to be resistance, it's going to be down here, that's still not going to make that big of a difference. Let's call it 165.60 just for grins. Yeah, it's still getting 1.5 to 1. So risking almost $700 to make 1,000 or close to $1,100. Well, yeah, I assumed it was an options trade, but I can't plan out the options trade. I don't have the options functionality yet here in Trader Vision, so sorry about that. But um, generally speaking, the difference between the options trade and the stock trade is just leverage. So if it's only giving you 1.5 to 1, that leverage is not going to give you um, it's not going to turn a bad trade into a good trade. So for me, this trade would be a pass. Certainly as a stock trade, I don't know what the chains tell you, but that's my honest opinion on the thing. Okay, guys, let me go back to my presentation there. If anybody needs to contact me, that is my email. I'll be happy to give you a walkthrough, to tell you about anything you need to know. Also, you can go to the daily blog on hitandruncandlesticks.com under trade ideas. Both Rick's public stock trade ideas and my TV 2020 trade plans. I plan out the feature trade idea of the day. And then there's a video of it on the YouTube channel where you can actually see the process that I go through, just like I did here. That may help you in some way. So again, if you need to reach me, I think I spelled that right, Ed at TraderVision2020.com, and I'll be happy to help you with any questions you have. Okay, with that, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate your afternoon, and please enjoy your evening and take it easy. By the way, I will be rebooting the room here in just a few minutes to get it ready for the next presentation. Thanks.